pretty good week in all. I would have taken a lot less to run that route. It's a route I love to run. So I got lucky on a few loads. I got some good rates in places I didn't think I should have gotten good rates, and I got some bad rates in places I thought I should have got a good rate. So sometimes it works out like that. I'll break it down for you and give you my gross, but I always like to let you know how I got that gross. Otherwise, it wouldn't make any sense. I mean, I could tell you I made $5,000 a week, but you don't know that I drove 4,000 miles to get it. So I'm going to break it down for you so you decide whether or not you're doing good or it's something you want to do. So I left the house Monday, I don't know, mid-morning sometime. And I'm getting back to the house probably here in about 20 minutes. And it's Friday, I think it's about 3 o'clock, I'm not real sure. So, full 5 days. And I ran 2,635 miles. It's a pretty good amount of miles for me. Usually don't run that many, but 8.1 miles to the gallon for all miles. And that's pretty good considering 2 of those loads were frac tanks. So I got to run that lane that I love to run. I basically did a round trip out to Denver and back. Love that run. You don't hit any mountains. No real hills. The scenery is beautiful. Very little traffic. But I think I got pulled into about 10 way stations. That's no exaggeration. It was close to that, if not exactly that. I mean, every single one of them was pulling me in there. That wastes quite a bit of time, especially when you got trucks stacked up in there. So, yeah, it was a pain. But wasn't carrying any weight on any of the loads, so it wasn't a big deal. So, let me break it down. Left the house Monday morning and I picked up an ISO tank on a chassis. Real easy load. Just like a van, pull up to it, hook up and go. And literally on that load, I picked it up and it took me about, 10 minutes to do a pre-trip. And had to sit there for the rest of the time to get my brake in. So I could have been gone in 10 minutes. Those loads are pretty easy. Same thing on the other end with that one. But that load, I took it out to West Texas. And that load paid $1,400. If you add in the deadhead from the house, everything, it paid about $250 up to $260 a mile. So got that one out there. Then I had to deadhead a little ways to pick up a frac tank that was going to Denver. If you've never seen a frac tank, it's just a big square tank, and it weighs about, 28,000 pounds. They're really heavy for a tank. And a lot of people don't want to mess with them. They can be a pain in the butt. It's oil-filled equipment, and lots of times what happens is they'll get these things out in the field, and these guys out there will disable the brakes so that they can push them around easier with their equipment, backhoe, whatever they have. And usually they'll sit out in the field for months months or even years at a time. So lots of stuff, lots of lights don't work, and I end up having to work on them probably about 30%, 40% of the time. There's something that's wrong that I have to make it legal. Now, a lot of the guys just go pick them up. They don't care if lights work on them or not. They roll with them. And I've seen guys pick them up and knowing that the brakes don't work, and they take off with them. I guess it's a personal choice, but something that heavy, I'm going to make sure the brakes work. So it's good to know how to adjust brakes on a trailer. It's a pretty easy thing to do. But like I said, most people don't want to mess with the frac tanks. I can understand why, but I don't mind it too much. The other thing about frac tanks is they sit straight on the ground. So you either have to have a winch on your truck, or you have to find somebody to pick the things up for you, either with a piece of equipment or a forklift or something like that, heavy duty forklift, so you can back underneath it and go. And the same thing when you get to the other end, you're gonna have to have somebody lift it up so you can get out from under it. That's normally why they pay pretty good. So, word of warning, if you do frac tanks, you're probably gonna have lights that don't work, and I don't know, half the time the brakes aren't gonna be adjusted right. So I took that one to Denver, and that one paid $2,200. And when I got out to Denver, I was supposed to pick up a flatbed in Golden, Colorado. When I got over there, it wasn't a flatbed, it was a gooseneck. So I got a truck order not used for $200. That's pretty good for 30 minutes worth of work. Was able to jump on the load board real quick and found another frac tank. This one was coming out of Longmont, so it was about a 30-mile deadhead. I think that's what it was. Picking up at a Ritchie Brothers, and it was going out to the middle of Kansas. And I think I said that one paid $1,600 in the previous video, but I think I was mentally adding that truck order not used on that one because it paid $1,400. I'm trying to call. It paid $1,400. It's still well over $3 a mile. Oh, and another thing about the frac tanks is they're just like a brick. They're no aerodynamics whatsoever, especially on my truck, which is a mid-roof. They stick up there and they don't have any kind of suspension, so they're really not good on fuel mileage. So I got that one, took it out to the middle of nowhere, Kansas. And that's where I figured, hey, I'm going to find plenty of loads at a pretty good rate. And that's not what I found at all. Normally, when I go out to Kansas, there's usually a real good selection of loads, and I'm able to get a good rate. But this time, I was in sort of a hurry because I wanted to get something that day so I could get back to the house on Friday. So I had about 5 loads to choose from. One of them was about 2 miles from me. 2-mile deadhead, paid $2 a mile. And it's an agent I've worked with probably 10 times. And she puts her loads out there. And when she puts them on the board, she puts all she has in them, and she gives herself only a small amount. So I didn't, I couldn't talk her up on them at all. And I wasn't too sure I wanted to take it, but the load was listed twice. When I called the other agent, she wanted to offer me $200 less. So I shopped around. There was a few loads about 200 miles from me, but after I did all the deadheading, I would have been further from the house, and I would have made the same amount of profit. So thought about it for an hour, waited on the load board, nothing was happening. So I went ahead and got that load. Another thing that made it a little bit easier is I'd already done a carrier packet with that agent before. So I got the Raycon and had it filled out and sent back, and I had the load in 5 minutes. So nothing to it. It was a stack of flatbeds, or not flatbeds, step decks. So I did have to throw some straps. If you guys have never done stacks of flatbeds or step decks before, you will need some straps. 99 times out of 100, they're going to want you to use straps. They don't want you to use chains, especially if they're brand new trailers. So I usually end up using about 10 straps in all. Sometimes you will need ratchets for your straps. Sometimes you won't. Some of these new trailers, they don't come with winches on them, so you'll need some straps and ratchets for them. But super easy. There's nothing to it. You're just throwing the straps. And I would also suggest that you get some edge protection. Some of those trailers, the rails on them just have a sharp metal edge, and that will cut through that strap if you try to tighten it down. But, you know, no big deal on those. You just need some straps, ratchets, and a bar to tighten them down. I would also suggest that you buy those straps online. Don't go to a truck stop. Don't go to a parts place or a Tart place or anything like that. You can get those straps for really cheap online. If you go to a truck stop, you're paying literally 3 times more than you can get them online. So, did that load, brought it back to Houston for $1,400. So for the week, for 2,600 miles, let's see, I did $6,600 gross. I won't do my net. I've done that before. Your net's going to be completely different than what mine is. You know, I don't have a truck payment. Basically, what I have to take out of it is I factored all but one of those loads, so 2.75%, and then fuel and insurance are my biggest expenses. Like I said, that's going to be different for everybody. So $6,600, you figure out your expenses. And somebody waving at me over here. I don't have a trailer, so there's nothing falling off my trailer. And I'm near the house, so maybe somebody I know don't recognize the car. Anyhow, that's the week in a nutshell. I hope your trucks are treating you good. I hope you have a good weekend. And I'm going to try to put out a video this weekend, part 3 on your authority. So hopefully I'll get time to do that. We'll see you next week.